The battlefield of broken bodies. Smoke covered everything. The battlefield was quiet now, too quiet. What was once a loud place full of screams, explosions, and war cries had now turned into a graveyard. Burning ships crackled in the distance. The wind carried ash and the smell of death. Crushed helmets, blood, empty weapons. Bodies, both human and alien, lay broken and still. Among them was one figure, lying face down. She was not dead yet. Jira, the alien warrior, blinked slowly. Her vision was fading, her breathing short and weak. She tried to move, but couldn't. Her arms, her powerful, trained warrior arms, were gone. Blasted off in the final explosion. All she had left were bleeding stumps and a sharp, deep pain that told her life was running out. She stared at the gray sky above and whispered something in her language. A warrior's last words. A goodbye to the stars. She had fought with honor. She had protected her people. Now it was time to die. Alone. She closed her eyes. But death didn't come. Something did. Footsteps, heavy boots crushing metal. Jira opened her eyes a little. The smoke was thick. She could barely see, but there was a shape. A figure. Tall. 2 legs. A helmet reflecting firelight. Human. She tried to lift her body, to reach for a weapon, to crawl away, but she was too weak. All she could do was lie there, broken and bleeding. If the human wanted to finish her, she couldn't stop him. He came closer. The human knelt beside her. Jira growled, "Finish it." But he didn't pull out a weapon. Instead, he leaned in and pulled off his helmet. His face was young. His eyes looked tired, but not cruel. He looked at her wounds, at her missing arms, and made a sound. Pain? Shock? He reached for her. Jira hissed, "Don't touch me." But he didn't listen. Carefully, gently, he lifted her off the ground. Her body screamed in pain. Blood dripped onto his flight suit. She wanted to fight him, but she had no strength left. "Stay with me," he said. "You're going to live." His voice, and it wasn't cold, it wasn't angry, it was calm, steady, like he was trying to keep her awake. Why? She was the enemy. She had killed humans in this war. Her squad had bombed his base. Why would a human save her? She tried to speak, but her head fell against his shoulder. Her eyes rolled back. She was slipping again, falling into darkness. But before everything went black, she heard his voice again. "I've got you." Somewhere above them, a ship circled. The human, his name was Captain Elias Rain, ran through the battlefield carrying the wounded alien in his arms. He called for pickup. No one answered. Command was gone. Radios were dead. He was alone, but still he ran. Not for glory, not for orders. He didn't even know her name. But he had seen the way she tried to crawl, even with no arms. He saw the pain in her face. She didn't beg. She didn't scream. She had accepted death like a soldier, and something in that look broke something in him. He wasn't going to let her die. Jira woke for a moment in the dropship. The world around her was shaking. The human was strapping her into a seat, trying to stop her bleeding. Her vision blurred, but she saw his face again, sweating, focused. She whispered, "Why?" He looked at her. "Because no one deserves to die alone." Then her eyes closed again. In the far distance, the stars still burned. The war was not over. But somewhere in the middle of the wreckage, one human and one alien had just taken the first step toward something no weapon could create. Hope. She wasn't dead. That was her first thought when her eyes opened. Not dead. Not in the stars, not in her homeworld's afterlife halls. Alive. But something felt wrong. Jira tried to move and found she couldn't. Her body ached. The sharp pain in her shoulders reminded her. Her arms were gone. She stared at the empty space where her limbs should have been and felt ice rise in her chest. She was weak. Useless. Her kind did not survive like this. She should have died with her squad, died on her feet. Not like this. Then came the sound. Footsteps. Soft. Slow. She looked up. It was him. The human. He walked into the small, gray room carrying a tray. His uniform was dirty. A cut marked his cheek. His eyes were tired but calm. Jira snarled. "Why am I still alive?" The human paused. "Because I didn't let you die." "You should have." He placed the tray down. "Maybe. But I didn't." She tried to sit up. Pain shot through her torso. She groaned and leaned back against the wall. He stepped closer. "Careful. You're still healing." She glared. "Don't speak to me like I'm fragile." "You lost both arms and nearly bled out. Fragile's not the word. Broken is." She bared her teeth. "You think this is funny?" He sat on the chair beside her bed. "No. I think it's tragic. But it's also real. And you're alive. That has to count for something." Jira stared at the wall. "I don't owe you thanks. I didn't ask for it." Silence filled the room. She hated how quiet it was. She hated how calm he was. Hated that she was still breathing. Finally she asked, "What do you want?" "Nothing." "Liar. I saved you because I didn't want to watch another person die," he said simply. "Even if that person was an enemy." She blinked slowly. "We are enemies." He nodded. "Yeah, we were." Jira stared at him. "You really are human. Take that as a compliment." She looked away again. Her people told stories about humans, monsters in machines, creatures that laughed when they destroyed. She believed them. Until now. Now, a human sat beside her. Quiet. Steady. And kind? "Who are you?" she asked. "Captain Elias Rain, Earth Alliance." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded cloth. He gently wiped her forehead. Jira flinched. "Don't touch me." Elias paused. "Sorry, you were sweating." She looked at him like he had grown a second head. "You care?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "I guess I do." She didn't understand this. This human should have killed her, or left her. Instead he was here, bringing food, talking to her like she was someone, not a trophy, not a threat, just someone. "I would not have saved you," she said coldly. He smiled. "I know you're a soldier. A good one from what I saw." "That's not a compliment. It's truth." She looked at her arms, or where they used to be. "I am not a warrior anymore." "Then be something else." Jira let out a bitter laugh. "Like what?" "I don't know." "Alive?" She hated how simple he made it sound. He picked up the tray and moved it closer to her. "I brought you something." "I can't eat," she said, lifting her shoulders helplessly. "I'll feed you." She stared at him like he had insulted her. "You will not. You'll starve." "Then let me." "No," he said firmly. "You survived for a reason. You're not going to waste it." Jira didn't answer. Elias sat beside her again. He picked up a spoon and held it near her mouth. Slowly she leaned forward and took the bite. Her pride screamed, but her body needed it. She chewed in silence. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "Why save me?" He didn't answer at first. Then, "Because I saw something in your eyes before you passed out. You didn't want to die. Not really. I accepted death. But not with fear." Jira studied his face. He wasn't joking. He meant every word. This human was different. Or maybe just human. She finished a few more bites before turning her head away. "That's enough." He nodded and set the tray down. She closed her eyes and whispered something in her language. He didn't ask what it meant. He just sat there, quietly watching over her. Jira hated how safe she felt. But maybe, just maybe, not all enemies wanted war. and maybe not all monsters were human. The room was cold. Not freezing, but cold enough to remind her that she was far from home. Jira sat in the same bed, wrapped in a dull gray blanket. Her wounds were healing. The pain had changed from sharp to a deep, constant throb. The stumps, where her arms used to be, were sealed with advanced human tech, smooth silver rings where skin had once been. She hated looking at them. Outside the medbay window, stars passed slowly. They were on a ship. A human ship. Jira was a prisoner. But there were no chains, no guards, just a closed door, a bed, and silence, until he came again. Captain Elias Rain stepped through the door with a soft knock, even though she couldn't open it herself. He never entered without knocking. He never treated her like she was less. Jira didn't look at him. She sat still, staring at the wall. "Morning," he said. She said nothing. He placed a small metal speaker on the table. A soft melody began to play. Not loud, not sharp. Just a slow, calm sound, like water falling over stone. Jira blinked. "What is that?" "Music," he replied. "Earth style." "Why are you playing it?" He shrugged. "You've been staring at that wall for hours. Thought you could use something different." She finally looked at him. "You bring me food. You clean my wounds, now you bring me music. Are you trying to make me trust you?" He smiled slightly. "I'm just trying to be human." Jira stared at him. She didn't understand this man. He had every reason to hate her. She had killed his kind. She wore armor designed to pierce human bone. She was bred for war. Yet he spoke to her like a friend. "You don't act like a soldier," she said. "I was one," he said. "Maybe still. But war changes things." She narrowed her eyes. "And what did it change in you?" He walked to the window and looked out. "I lost people I cared about. I buried friends. I watched enemies cry for mercy. I started asking myself, what's left after all the killing?" Jira was silent. She understood loss. She had seen her captain fall, her squad scattered, her blood on the battlefield. But no one ever asked her how she felt. They only told her to fight harder. Elias turned back to her. "I don't know what's going to happen to you, Jira. Command doesn't even know you're alive yet." Her eyes narrowed. "Then why am I still here? I haven't reported you." She stiffened. "Why?" He sat on the edge of the table, facing her. "Because I want you to choose what happens next." Jira frowned. "I have no arms, no strength. What choice do I have? I've seen soldiers come back from worse. Some found purpose. Some gave up. The difference wasn't their body, it was their will." She looked down at her legs. They still worked. She could walk. She could still see, still speak, still think. But she didn't feel like herself. "I don't know who I am without a blade in my hand," she said softly. Elias leaned forward. "Then maybe it's time to find out." Her throat tightened. No one had ever given her that kind of freedom. Not her leaders, not her commanders, not even her own people. They used her strength. This man saw her pain. "Why are you being kind to me?" she asked again, voice low. "Because I've seen what hate does," he said. "It eats you. It turns you into something hollow. I don't want that for you." She shook her head slowly. "You act like we're not enemies. Maybe we don't have to be." The music played softly in the background. A slow drum joined the melody. Something ancient, something hopeful. Jira looked at the prosthetic arms placed on the table nearby. Sleek, silver, strong. She hadn't touched them yet. "You want me to use those?" she asked. "I want you to decide." She stared at them for a long time. Then, with slow, shaky movement, she swung her legs off the bed. Elias stood up, surprised. "Wait. Are you—" "Help me," she said simply. He rushed to her side and supported her gently. Together they walked to the table. She nodded at the arms. "Put them on." Elias picked up the first one and carefully attached it to her left side. The soft click echoed in the silent room. Then the second. Her body twitched. Sparks danced along the new limbs. She flexed her fingers. They moved. They were not hers, but they were something. Gira looked at Elias. Thank you. Human. He smiled. Name's Elias. You can say it. She smirked slightly. Don't push. Your luck. For the first time in days, she didn't feel like a weapon or a prisoner. She felt alive. Gira stood in front of the mirror. For the first time in days, she saw herself fully, not as a bleeding body on a battlefield, not as a prisoner in a human ship, but as something else, something new. The arms were still strange. Silver. Sleek, quiet. They hummed slightly when she moved her fingers. The shape wasn't hers. The weight wasn't familiar. But they moved when she thought, and for now, that was enough. Behind her, the door opened with a soft hiss. She didn't turn. You're walking more, Elias said. That's good. Gira nodded, eyes still on her reflection. They listen to me now. He stepped closer but kept his distance. I knew they would. You're stubborn. She looked at him in the mirror. That's not a compliment where I'm from. It is where I'm from, he said, smiling. Stubborn keeps people alive. She turned to face him fully. Why do you keep visiting me? He shrugged. You're the most interesting thing. On this ship. She crossed her arms. Is that all I am? Interesting? No, he said softly. You're strong. Brave. Confusing. That last word made her smirk. Confusing? You tried to kill my kind. Now you thank me, it's hard to keep up. She walked past him slowly. Her steps were stronger now. I never thanked you. He raised an eyebrow. Not with words, but you're trying. That means something. She paused near the table where a folded uniform sat. Not armor, just plain clothes. Human style. She picked up the shirt and held it in her hands. You expect me to wear this? She asked. It's clean, Elias said. Your own uniform was burned. She didn't reply. He added, You don't have to wear it, just thought you'd want something fresh. Gira looked at the clothes. They were soft, light, not built for war. She ran her fingers over the fabric, thinking. Then she asked, Do you think I'm still a warrior? He thought carefully before answering. I think you're more than that. She turned to him. I don't know how to be more. Then you learn, he said simply. She sat down, prosthetic fingers resting on her knees. On my world, they call humans liars, tricksters, cheats. He sat across from her. And what do you call me? She stared into his eyes. Wrong. A small smile touched his lips. I'll take it. There was a long silence. Then she spoke, voice lower now. Do your people know I'm alive? No? Why not? I didn't tell them. She looked at him carefully. You're hiding me. I'm protecting you. She leaned back. That's a dangerous thing to do for an enemy. He nodded. I know. Why? She asked again, truly wanting to understand. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, You remind me of someone. Gira frowned. Who? My sister. Her eyes narrowed. I don't look like a human female. No, he said, smiling. But she was a soldier, hard, brave, kept people at arm's length. She died in a mission she wasn't supposed to be on. Gira's voice softened. I'm sorry. I see her in your eyes. That fight, that fire, that loneliness. Gira lowered her head. I didn't ask to be like this. I know. He stood and walked toward the door, ready to leave. Before he could step out, she asked, What will your commanders do if they find out I'm here? He paused. Depends. Some will want to study you. Others might try to lock you up. Maybe. Worse. She stood too. Then you're putting yourself in danger. He turned back and smiled sadly. Too late for that. Jira looked at her new arms again, then at him. You're a fool, Elias. Maybe, he said. But I believe. Peace starts somewhere. She studied him in silence, his scars, his tired face, the way he spoke to her, not with fear, not with hate, but with strange, honest care. Peace, she repeated. It was a word she had never tasted before. She slowly walked to him, close enough that their shadows touched. Then she did something strange. She lifted one of her metal hands and placed it gently over his heart, not as a threat, as a gesture. Elias looked down. Surprised, her voice was quiet. You saved me. Twice now. He didn't move. I'd do it again. Her metal fingers closed into a soft fist. Then maybe. You are not my enemy anymore. He looked up into her alien eyes. Maybe you were. Never mind. The door stayed open behind them, but neither of them stepped out. Jira slammed her fist into the wall. Not with hate, not with rage, with confusion. The wall didn't break. Her new arms were strong but not unstoppable. Pain didn't follow. These arms didn't feel pain. They only obeyed. That was the problem. She stared at her silver fingers, smooth, flawless, and not hers. They moved too perfectly. Too fast. Not like her old ones. Her real arms had scars. Calluses. Marks from every battle. These felt empty. Behind her, the door opened. Elias stepped in slowly, carrying a box. He watched her back, her stiff shoulders, her breathing. You're up early, he said. I didn't sleep. He placed the box on the table. Brought tools. I thought we could adjust your grip strength today. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned around and held up her hands. They do everything you tell them, but they're not mine. I know. You don't. Elias walked closer. You think I don't understand what it's like to lose a part of yourself? Jira narrowed her eyes. Have you ever lost your arms? Have you ever looked in the mirror and not recognized what you are? He paused. No. But I've looked into my soul and seen things I never wanted to. That made her go quiet. He pulled a chair and sat down. Back on Earth, he began. I once gave orders that got people killed, my own team. I was their captain, they trusted me, I sent them into a trap. Jira listened, silent. When I returned, they handed me medals, told me I did my duty. But I couldn't look at my reflection for months. She tilted her head. So you buried the guilt? No, he said. I carried it, still do. That's why I didn't leave you to die. She folded her arms. Pity then. No, he said softly. Redemption. Jira slowly walked to the box. Opened it. Inside were tools, screws, small wires, pieces of interface tech. She knew what it all was, but her hands hesitated. Want me to help? He asked. She nodded once. He gently took her right hand, unclipped a cover near her wrist, and began adjusting a small dial. Jira watched him closely. You trust me now? I trusted you the moment you didn't try to kill me in the med bay. I couldn't. You didn't try. She looked down. You think I'm healing, she said. But I'm not. These arms, they're useful, but they don't belong, and this ship feels like a cage. It's not a cage, he said, adjusting a wire. It's a second chance. She almost laughed. That's a soft word for being stuck with your enemy. I don't think you're my enemy anymore. She looked at him uncertain. And if command finds out? I'll deal with it. You could be court-martialed. Let them try. She stared at him. You risk everything for what? For you. She pulled her hand back slowly. You don't even know me. I'm learning. Jira turned away, her hands clenched. I don't know how to trust this, you, myself. He stood. You don't have to know everything now, just enough to take the next step. She faced him, her expression raw. What? If I fail? Then I'll catch you. Her jaw clenched. Don't say things like that. Why? Because it makes me want to believe you. Elias didn't move. Is that so bad? Shira stepped closer. She looked him in the eyes, unsure, angry, afraid. I killed your kind. I know. I would have killed you too. I know. But I didn't. No, he whispered. You didn't. Her shoulders dropped. The fight in her voice broke. Then what am I now? He took her silver hand and placed it gently against his chest. Whatever you choose to be. Her fingers didn't tremble, but something inside her did. She pulled her hand away and stepped back. I don't want to be your pet project. You're not, he said. You're Zira, warrior, survivor, person. That word struck something in her. Person, not weapon, not prisoner. Just person. She turned to the wall again, then lifted her hand and punched once more. This time, she didn't feel hate, just strength, her own. The alarm blared across the ship. Red lights flashed. Voices shouted through comms. Footsteps thundered down the corridors. Jira stood in the hallway, her metal hands clenched into fists. She didn't understand at first. Then the words came through the speaker. Unidentified vessel has boarded. Multiple life forms. Non-human. Repeat. Non-human. Her blood ran cold. Her people were here. Not to rescue. To erase. She turned sharply and ran toward the control deck, her feet heavy against the floor. The new arms moved like they had always been hers. She didn't notice the pain anymore. She barely noticed the stares of the human crew as she sprinted past. When she reached the command bay, Elias was there, helmet on, rifle in hand. He turned and saw her. They came for you. She didn't blink. They won't leave without blood. We can hold them off. No, she said firmly. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to finish what the war started. Elias hesitated. We could still hide you. No use. They'll burn this ship down to get to me. He lowered his weapon slightly. Then what do we do? Her voice was flat. I talked to them. She walked alone into the cargo hold. Smoke poured through the broken blast doors. 3 figures stood inside, armored in jagged black plates. Their helmets were sharp, deadly, familiar. Her people. They didn't flinch when they saw her. One stepped forward. General Kor Zira stopped a few feet away, her arms at her sides, her silver fingers glowing faintly. Kor tilted his head. You survived? Yes, she said calmly. We thought you were dead. I was close. Kor looked at her arms. And now, you're something else. They rebuilt me. Humans rebuilt you. Yes. Kor's voice sharpened. And you let them? They saved me. They enslaved you. Shira's jaw tightened. No chains, no collar, just care. Another soldier spat on the ground. She's corrupted. She's broken, said the third. Jira took one step closer. You left me. You fled the battlefield. We had orders, Kor replied coldly. You were considered a lost asset. I'm not an asset. To them, no. To us, always. Jira narrowed her eyes. Why are you here? Kor didn't hesitate. To correct your mistake. You've spoken with the enemy, slept under their roof, worn their tech. That makes you a risk. Jira's heart beat hard in her chest. I was dying. You should have finished dying. Suddenly, gunfire cracked through the hold. Jira turned. Elias stood at the far entrance, rifle raised. Step away from her. The 3 soldiers turned toward him. Him, human, Kor said with disgust. You shouldn't speak. She's under our protection, Elias said, voice firm. She's one of us. No, Elias said, stepping forward. She's herself. Kor raised a hand. You'll die first. Jira stepped between them. No, one dies, she said. Her voice cut through the tension like a blade. I'm done with blood. Kor laughed. You think you can choose? Yes, she said. Because for the first time I have that right. She raised her arms not to strike but to show them. These were given to me, Not forced. I was saved, not chained. You say I'm weak, but you abandoned me. He didn't. Kor sneered. Then you are not one of us. Jira nodded slowly. Maybe I never was. The air burned with silence. Then the third soldier moved. Fast. Aggressive. Blade in hand, he lunged toward Elias. Jira acted faster. She twisted her body and slammed her new arm into the attacker's chest. He flew backward, crashing into a wall. Her breathing was hard, steady. She stood in front of Elias, chest rising and falling. You'll leave this ship, she said, or you'll leave in pieces. Kor stared at her like she was a ghost. You would fight your own people? No, she said. I fight for what's right. You're lost. I'm free. The invaders backed away slowly, dragging the injured one. Kor's last words echoed in the chamber. You've made your choice, there is no return. She didn't answer. She watched until they vanished through the breach, the airlock sealed. She turned to Elias, her chest still heaving. He stared at her. You saved me. She shook her head. No. You saved me first. You chose us. She looked down at her hands, her new hands. I chose me. The stars looked different now. Jira stood on the observation deck, her silver hands resting gently against the glass. The vastness of space stretched before her, cold, endless, silent. But for the first time in her life, it didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt like freedom. Behind her, footsteps approached. She didn't need to look. It's quiet tonight, Elias said, standing beside her. She nodded. No alarms, no orders, no one trying to kill me. Strange. He smiled slightly. You get used to it. I'm not sure I want to. He raised an eyebrow. You'd prefer chaos? I'd prefer purpose. She turned to face him fully. But maybe I've found one. Days had passed since her people left the ship. Command never learned the truth. Elias didn't report her. The crew said nothing. Jira was still technically a prisoner, but no one treated her like one. They gave her space, gave her respect, gave her a name, not a code, not a rank, just Jira. You know, Elias said, you could leave. Take one of our crafts. Disappear. No one would stop you. She looked back at the stars. I thought about it. And? I stayed. Why? She hesitated, then said, because no one's ever looked at me the way you do. He blinked. How do I look at you? Like I'm more than what I was made to be. He took a step closer. You are. I don't know what to do with that. You live, one day at a time. Jira gave a small, broken laugh. For someone from a warrior race, that sounds weak. It's harder than it looks. She looked down at her hands. They moved better now. More natural, more hers. She could hold a spoon, grip a handle, even braid her hair. But most importantly, she could hold trust, and she could hold peace. She turned toward him. I don't belong anywhere. Then stay here. She blinked. On this ship? With these people? She raised an eyebrow. With you? Elias didn't flinch. If you'll have me? Jira didn't answer right away, but she didn't. Walk away. Later they sat in the common room, just the two of them, a tray of food between them, warm lights above, the hum of the ship around them. Jira tried tea for the first time. It was bitter, but comforting. She watched Elias eat, then asked softly, Do you ever miss the fight? He looked up. Sometimes. It made things simple. She nodded. Enemies, orders, blades, no thinking. But peace, he said, requires thinking and feeling. He looked at her carefully. Are you ready for that? I don't know, she whispered. But I want to try. Night came, though space had no day. Jira returned to her room, changed into soft clothes, and sat on her bed. She stared at the ceiling. No pain, no gunfire, no cries for help, only silence. And yet, not alone. She touched her chest. The war hadn't taken her heart, not completely. The next morning she stood with Elias outside the shuttle bay. He held out a small data chip. "This is your file, your past, everything they recorded." She took it, looked at it, then snapped it in half. "I'm not her anymore." Elias smiled. "What will you be?" She shrugged. "Something new, something better, something free." They stood there for a while, saying nothing more. The silence said enough. That day, Zira began working with the crew. She helped in engineering, learned human tech, used her arms for creation instead of destruction. Some crew members were nervous, but most grew to respect her. She didn't yell. She didn't demand. She listened. She learned. And slowly she began to smile. Weeks passed. One evening, she stood at the ship's edge again. Elias joined her, as always. "You're different," he said. "So, are you? Do you regret it?" She looked at him. "At first I thought you were my enemy. And now?" She stepped closer. "Now I think you were my beginning." The war had shaped her, but the human taught her how to live after it. She was still a warrior. But now, she fought for peace.